Be the lady who feeds kids, or the man who helps them fix up their bikes, or the person who has a tea party with a little girl. Whatever your gender, whatever your skill is, it doesn't really matter. Just be the adult who helps children in your neighborhood. Hi, my name's Kat, and I'm a misfit. I do things differently. I always have. I don't fit into mainstream society, and I'm here because I think it's really cool when people do their own thing. So what I'm talking about today is something that I've always done, even when I was a young woman. I've just had kids around me. And long before I had my own children, I have 5 of them between the ages of 2 and 10. And I homeschool them here in this house. And we have a farm. But long before I had that, I lived in the city. I lived in Muskegon or Muskegon Heights down in lower West Michigan. And there was just kids around me all the time. Wherever I went, they just sort of flocked towards me, and I said, sure, you can hang out. You can follow me around and do what I'm doing, and I'll share my food or I'll share my garden, and that's fine with me. And at one point, when I lived in Muskegon Heights, I would have, and I'm not kidding, a dozen kids on my doorstep on the daily, hanging out, helping me in my yard, asking for food. Knock, knock, knock. Hey, Kat, can I get a pickle? Sure, come on in. Come get some food. Because one of my gifts that I have been abundantly blessed with is food. I come across food, more food than I know what to do with, and I stuff it into jars, and I stuff it into freezers, and I feed people. And I think that that is such a wonderful thing about me and my family. Now my children are learning to do it for others. We keep paper plates around just so we can send people home with food. And it's something that I've always done, and now they're doing too. So my family's going through a really hard time right now. My kids' father is struggling with a really nasty substance abuse addiction and mental health issues, and it came on really, or at least we found out about it very suddenly. And we're feeling really out of sorts, and we're needing a lot of support right now ourselves. But because we're so well grounded in what we're doing and who we are and what our values are, we're weathering the storm, and we're still able to help others. So behind my house here, which if you notice, there's a new deck on it, there's a new woodshed, there's a new mudroom. So we've had some additions put on, but behind my house and across the street, and then behind the house, my neighbor's house, there's like a crack house. I don't know if it's meth, I don't know if it's alcohol, I don't know what it is, but it's one of those houses, okay? And people live in it. I think there's electricity. I don't think there's running water. And the police are there from time to time, and they drive their clapped out trucks, and these are guys that are involved in like the local derby, like the car derby, whatever that is, derby racing. And they're just, if you know, you know. And some people watching, you grew up in that, and it isn't pretty. Well, there's a little girl that's staying there every other week. Hope you can still hear me with the wind. She's staying there every other week with her mother, and sometimes she's kicked out, sometimes she's not. But she has now found my kids, and if she's awake, she's over here because this is a safe place. She can hang out on the farm, and she's enjoying spending time with our quail, our little birds. And I feed her because her mother doesn't wake up, because her mother sleeps all day, because her mom's an addict, right? Now I know this because I've been around. I know what these people are. I know how they live. In fact, I can code switch when needed. And I can say things like, yeah, she ain't no trouble. She's fine here. She's fine. Everything's fine. I can speak like them. I know how to play it down so that they don't necessarily know that I know. right? I know what's going on there. I know it's bad. It's not pretty. In fact, I couldn't tell you how many times I've called CPS on people like this, especially when I lived in the city and I could literally see what was happening before my eyes. I could literally hear them threatening to kill their children or beating them. Yep, I'm that lady. And I encourage you, as you go through life, to be your own version of that person for a child. Because a lot of us grew up in really rough situations. And if we would have had adults who would have paid attention to us instead of staying really self-absorbed or really afraid to stick up for someone more vulnerable, well, maybe things would be a little bit different in our society. We live in an incredibly self-absorbed society. The United States is anti-child. They don't care about children. We don't invest in education. We don't invest in families. We make it really tough for families to make a go of it. And especially if there's issues in the family, mental health issues, and this stuff churns through generations, right? This stuff gets passed on from one generation to the next, to the next, to the next, until there's a disruptor, until there's a transformer, until somebody radically breaks that cycle and says, the buck stops here. Hey, that'd be somebody like me. But imagine if more adults said, honey, do you need something to eat? Have you eaten today? Or, I can fix that bike for you. That's easy. Come on over. Bring your stuff. Imagine that, right? It takes a village to raise a child. And even though my family is having a really hard go of it, this whole year, so far, it's July of 2026, we're still going to make sure that someone who's in even worse of a situation, we're going to make sure that she's fed and she has a safe place to stay while her mom has to sleep all day because she's up all night doing whatever nonsense she does. And we hope and we pray to the goddess that they get their act together. We always hope that addicts go and find the help that is available, find the helpers, the healer, the wisdom. And in the meantime, we'll be here. Because there's really nothing better than knowing that you are that safe place in the neighborhood. And I tell you what, when I was in my early 20s and I lived in Muskegon Heights, and I was not doing great. I was doing all right. I was struggling. I had my own issues. But hearing those little girls with their braids that they had in their little twists in their hair come running around my house, clack, 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 clack. I knew they were coming and they're knocking on the door. Cat, 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 where are you at? Hearing that, being the person, they jump out of the van when they get to grandma's house, but instead they run over to my house because I actually let them in. Being that person, that was the first time I ever felt truly loved by anybody and just radically adored. And I never will forget that. And while their parents were fighting dogs and selling drugs and mama's got a new boyfriend and whatever drama, right? Whatever drama these adults who couldn't get their acts together were doing. Well, at least the kids could come hang out at my place for a little while. And you can come weed my garden with me. That's not so bad, right? So I'm still doing that, even though I live way up in Michigan's Keweenaw Peninsula. And now my kids are getting to do it with me. And it is an awesome feeling to help somebody else and to just keep with those values that are so important to us. So be the lady who cooks for the neighborhood, for the children, who doesn't ask anything in return, who is just generous enough and put together enough that she can make you a sandwich. Or be the man who can change a bike tire, or the person who can make a cup of tea with the kids, or whatever your skill is, whoever you are. Pass it forward to the next generation, because if more of us did that, it would be a much better world. Blessings to everyone. Love and light. Thank you for all your well wishes. We're hanging in there, and I hope you are too. We'll talk soon. Bye.